They say marketing is a madman's game. So now we turn it over to the Marketing Madman with Nick Constantino and Trip Jobe on Extra 106.3 FM.
Happy Saturday. Welcome to the Marketing Madman. Trip Jobe and Nick Constantino here live from the Battery, and it's 2025.
Yeah, holy crap. I don't know where it came from, but we're here, and it's going to be an interesting year.
Somehow 2024 birthed the 2025. I'm not sure.
Is that how it works? Yeah.
I think that's
one of the things. Like death, taxes, and the 24 will make it become 25. I guess that's fair.
Yeah, I think it was maybe it was a preemie. I don't know, but anyhow. So it's that time of year we try to do it. Think about forecast. We're not going back to what we predicted last year, though. I did predict, I think wrongly, which side that part of the Hawks backcourt would not be with us anymore. So at least part of it was right.
Hey, they're on a winning streak. So as we spoke about, that was not a match made the way they thought it was going to be, and they're playing good basketball now. So I'm excited. They actually play. We're recording in December, and they're playing the Knicks tonight for the quarterfinals for the NBA Cup. So I'll be watching that game intently. Knicks got some pieces they need to fill, but regardless, seeing the Knicks and the Hawks both be good is a good thing for basketball. Yeah. Those are two basketball cities, so I'm excited. All right,
let's get away from sports.
Let's hit it. Let's hit it. Let's one of the things I've learned over the past year about marketing is the volatility and the speed has just changed so fast that it's almost not even worth looking backwards. So let's go. Let's plow ahead. Let's plow forward.
All right. So I'll jump with my first that I think is critically important, and I was just dealing with it yesterday. I'm now on our HOA transition board, but it's the customer experience. Okay. And I can tell you 3 times out of 4 right now, the customer experience is broken, damaged. It's starting to hurt brands. And I think that, there's a lot of, I believe, indecision, inactivity this year that happened in 2024. Everyone was waiting what was going to happen in November, or they're waiting for this, waiting for that. And I think that, that took over a lot in customer experience, and things that should have been common sense to get fixed and invested in didn't happen in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I think it's simpler than that to some extent, and I think COVID caused a lot of this. But I'll give you an example. This morning, I am trying to book a reservation at a hotel. At a casino. I'm not going to name who it is. Yeah. Okay. I can't get my password reset. There's something broken in the chain. Yep. So I called. The line that it tells you to call says that it is closed and it'll open at 5 a.m. in the morning Pacific time. I was calling at 9:30. Okay. So not only did they not turn the line on, not only did they understaff it, but they kept that line as their main contact line. Yeah. That is such a broken, horrible experience. Then when I finally got a hold of somebody, they were unable to send me the password, the code that I needed to restart it. And they couldn't help me and told me to just go to the casino and figure it out, which is 2.5 hours from here. So now I'm not going to go. And they lost the customer let's be honest, I was going to get drunk and blow $1,000 easily. Yeah. And
will you go back there in the future?
And what position are these companies to turn away $1,000 in free business because they can't get customer service, they can't get the user experience right, and that's where we are. And I think it's COVID, it's staffing, it's all these things.
It's COVID, it's offshoring. I mean, there's a lot of customer service, and people looked at, hey, how do we reduce our cost? And there's the right time to do offshoring, but some of it has, I think, blown up the customer experience.
But and I completely agree with you. But where does this fall, right? Because this blurs the line. This is operations, but it's marketing. You are the first impression upon a consumer, a new person. The contact line. How could you be broken? And I get it. Everyone wants everything to be automated. Everything wants everything to be online. But now it is broken. I had another today. I canceled the hotel and I needed my points back. And there was a hold on it. And I go, why? You just told me. Well, I released hold. Yeah, but you wasted 20 minutes of my time to do something that was supposed to be done anyway.
I'll bring up another one that I dealt with a lot this year in the second half of the year. And because of where we're recording this, I don't want to go there, but unfortunately it's been big in the news, and it's healthcare. And obviously, we just went through the senseless killing. But
that was an assassination.
Yes,
I think senseless killing can be anything that happened. That was an assassination, a premeditated assassination by a valedictorian. Yes, that is crazy time. We are back in the Gilded Age with the robber barons right now.
Right. So I want to be careful about this, but I will say from my own experience and others, I dealt with, I don't know how many phone calls, never really got it right, but with the same organization that have an HSA and an FSA, back to your point, the FSA person can't look at my HSA and things got, charged the wrong direction off the same card. Nope, you got to call back. I got to transfer you to this organization. I mean, I think I had 7 calls, and it's just, these organizations within the healthcare system aren't properly staffed to, they want it all to just go through smoothly and not have people involved. But the reality is the healthcare system's broken. Yeah. And it's not going to run through smoothly.
Yeah. You know what? So I agree with you, but one of the most profound things anyone's ever told me is there is a crisis of compassion in healthcare. Yeah. Because what you're talking about, if you had simply said, look, I know this sucks. I'm really sorry. Here's what I can do. But that's not what they do. Just say, I can't help you. I can't help you. There is a crisis of compassion across all these places. Yeah. People do not feel like they have any obligation. They don't feel commitment to the companies they work, and it is blatantly showing. So before we spend the whole episode on this, what do you do to fix it? How do you fix that? Because I agree with you, it needs to be fixed.
Well, you gave a real good example there, and that is you give people a little bit of ability to make decisions. All right, and there may be guidelines. Look, I had some great leaders that we set up thresholds and guidelines, but you give people some authority to make certain decisions.
Ritz-Carlton is the best example. Right? Ritz-Carlton has $1,000 per guest per stay to make things right for anybody.
And 90% of the time, people, while they want the world, if you give them and accept and show that compassion and that you're doing something for them, most of the time they're going to accept that.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing I'm going to throw in here to throw this off a little bit is the caveat of user error. Because there's a lot of times where you think it's customer service, but it's the dummy that's in line. Let me give you an example. If it is rush hour to go to a restaurant and you don't know what you're ordering, get out of line. Yes. It's not a time to ask what kind of hummus that they put inside the harissa. It's not the time. There's 100 people behind you. You're the dummy that's waiting for this. So I also see from the other side where a lot of times we've gotten so much dumber as a society, and we are, and it, without putting any connotation on it, it seems to be the same people, the same type of people that are always the ones doing this. And it's the same people that will drive 45 miles an hour in the right lane in rush hour traffic because they have nowhere to be, so they don't understand the world around them, what they're trying to do. Yeah. So, all right, before we get too far down that rabbit hole, let me throw one out here. I'm going to throw embrace AI and automation out there, and let's call it what it is. Look, the machines are not taking over. Okay. It can't even transcribe this full podcast and summarize it in one shot. I got to do it 4 times. So if it can't do 40,000 words at one time, machines are not taking over anytime soon. Okay. But what it does do is it reduces mundane and recurring tasks.
Incremental improvement. Look, if I can improve my work week by 10%, all right, that's a pretty significant.
That's 4 hours a week, man. 4 hours times 52. That's 200 hours a week that you're getting back that your competitors who are not using this have.
It's not replacing me. It's not replacing someone on my staff. But if it can give me 10% more of my time, that's great.
Completely agree. And I think one of the things I think this company, our 680 The Fan, is learning is we never had a problem with the content. We had a problem with the mundane. The mundane is the keywords, the tagging, making sure this flows. That really helps there. Like, it knows what needs for SEO. That it's not a fallacy what SEO needs. You know exactly what you need to do it. It's just terrible, tedious, mundane work. So help me with SEO. It will achieve what you need to almost every time if you use it the right way. Don't expect this to write novels, but man, if you are writing a business plan, you know what you're trying to achieve and put some parameters in, it knows what to scour to put this up the right way. The same thing with automation. Use those mundane tasks, repetitive tasks, then automate them so you don't even have to do it anymore. Right. That's the stage. We're in the stage right now where in the ideal world, I can upload a video of this podcast, it turns it into audio, it breaks it down, it summarizes, it transcribes, it makes sure it's all in one fell swoop. Right now it takes me 2 hours to do, right? A week. But if it was done in 10 minutes, how much time would I save?
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the content creation area and thought leadership and you're not using the tools that are out there to improve that, you're crazy.
Yeah, and look, the problem is, though, you're right, but there's not a lot of people willing to teach. Because here's the thing. And I'm going to let you guys in on the secret, okay? Once you're in the club, the club doesn't tell people how easy it is to do because they want to charge you exorbitant amounts of money for something that takes no time, which I don't want to say they're bad actors. I get how capitalism works, but the tools are not do this or else. It is, hey, learn to do this. Here's some guidelines, and you should be able to figure out pretty quickly.
But is that, going back to society, is that also a little bit of indication of there's not as much desire to learn in the workplace that maybe I feel like was there 20 to 30 years ago?
How long do you have? Okay, we've been indoctrinated by the education system in this country to be sheep and not be self-starters and not learn. We've been indoctrinated to be sheep across the board in every department. I'm not a blatant conservative. It's not something I'm yelling about, but we teach the dumbest things that people have. We don't say, here's a problem, go find a solution. Here's a solution, go find a problem.
Right.
We teach, you got to remember this fact. And if you are not set as a problem solver from when you were young,
1776, what happened?
it is very hard to become a problem solver in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. If you're not innate with that in you at 21 years old, it's very hard to become a problem solver. And we have not taught problem solving skills, which is a damn shame.
No, it's
All right, we got to do something positive. Holy crap, that was negative Nancy Town.
Well, I think one of the areas that, and this will be an interesting one, but is the area of sustainability.
Yeah.
And I think it continues to grow. Now, some people say because of the election that, this whole Green New Deal and green energy and all are going away. And I would say, I don't think that's quite the case. And here's, so we do a lot in this area. And of the projects that have already been funded out there, 80% are Republican-driven states.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So,
and the mechanism's already been set in place, right?
Right.
That's why when Trump promised coal was going to be brought back, it wasn't, because everything else was already set in place.
The senators, congressmen are not going to allow these things to be rolled back out of their areas. Now, what I do think will happen, yes, I do think that, we'll see pipelines opened. I think we will see more access to traditional fossil fuels, but I don't think we're going to see a shutdown to, things around carbon capture, things around electrification, where it makes sense. I think maybe large areas of new spending will probably take a while to happen and won't during this next administration. But there are some people who fear that, everything's just going to get repealed back. And I do not see that happening.
It's not how it works. There's so much money that's been invested in solar power. We are not making electric vehicles. I understand what everyone says. We're making electric vehicles. If we don't, China will. So that's why we're investing money. This is government offset money. There's credits.
No, absolutely.
Everything's put in motion. And I think, look, we got to stop as a world thinking that petroleum products and gas is the problem, right? We fought more wars. More people have died over this crap. Stop, right? How about we get rid of styrofoam? Like, how about we get rid of the things that we know are destroying the world that don't provide any value whatsoever?
Landfill and things like that. And look, companies are starting. I think that's one of the reasons sustainability is not going away is that, if you look at the Science-Based Targets Initiative, there are more and more companies that have set goals out there, whether their goals were 2030, 2040, 2050. But the private sector now is out there setting these goals.
I agree.
And so that is going to continue the focus. I think over time they may change. That's fine. But again, are we improving? Are we doing things that make more sense? Are we recycling better? Are we utilizing technologies that, emit less?
Yeah.
I think those are all positives as long as we're not doing things that cost us 3 to 4 times what other alternatives are.
Sure. And look, I think it's also an education thing, right? Like, for example, just use glass bottles when you can. Glass is so easy to recycle. It's expensive to recycle. That's the problem. It's much cheaper just to make shit plastic.
The challenge is with glass recycling. Unfortunately, I spent a good bit of time at some of the MRFs. Is you've got cities now that don't want to recycle glass.
Yeah,
and so it's actually
time consuming, but it's the easiest thing.
It is, but I think the municipalities unfortunately gone there. But I think it's an area that will continue to go. Well, why don't we take a break real quick, and we'll come back and we'll hit some more things for 2025. And you've been listening to the Marketing MadMen on Extra 106.3. Welcome back to the Marketing MadMen. Trip Jobe and Nick Constantino here. We're talking about our 2025 resolutions and predictions edition, and we were just kind of to wrap up on sustainability. I think we see some really cool things going on too in the packaging space. And look, we won't get deep into it, but there's EPR laws that have been enacted in several states now, so those are really driving back to the manufacturer of the products. But companies, whether it be the your cereal companies, your Coca-Cola's, Amazon's, and others are starting to do some neat things with, reducing the amount of packaging.
Yeah.
That can be, we've gotten away from some of the, plastic and polymer type mailers, and now they're going back to paper. I got a Christmas present in where LL Bean, and the outer wrap was actually a paper bag versus plastic. So it can be recycled.
I love it.
Right?
And those are important things, man. I mean, first of all, plastic feels cheap. There's no other way to say it, right? Unless you're talking these polymers, which take so much more fuel. Plastic is cheap. we have made a comeback that paper feels nice. People like the tangibility, the tactile feeling of a paper bag. That's a good thing. I also think that like these are times where we're not the best at things, so we should look. You know, the best are the Germans. If you ever look at a German car, you open every inch of space is utilized
the engineering,
for something. The engineering. So it's not like, hey, Germany, how are you doing this? How are you looking at this? That's one of the problems with the we're closing everything. The populism is. It used to be known Japan was great at electronics. We used to know what everyone was. Now everyone's just a Wild West. Germany, how are you handling this? Maybe this is a good model for us to fill.
Yeah, can you ship? And we're seeing more of it with the actual product box and not a secondary outside box and all those styrofoam peanuts in it.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right, that's enough on that one.
All right, I think this is one when we talked about AI, but strengthen brand storytelling. So, look, if we're talking marketing resolutions, for the first time in my life, I have seen the tide turn away from performance marketing. Okay, there's a couple of reasons. One, the system was rigged. Google, Facebook, all the big guys knew how much money was going to put in performance marketing, so they just kept jacking up the amount of money that they take out of that marketing form, right? Give you an example. Facebook, you used to be able to place an ad by setting a CPM and setting all this stuff. They give you none of that stuff anymore. They just say place. And it says, we're going to let the world figure out your CPMs, which means the CPMs on that stuff have gotten exponentially more expensive, which means they are worthless. They are worthless if you're not tracking your metrics too. But what I'm saying is it's almost leveling the playing field out now to a point where good storytellers are going to be able to thrive again. Right. So give you an example. I heard Marketplace. There is a influencer who is suing another influencer for the first time because she has proof that every time she does a video, 2 days later, this other person copies it almost to the T.
Copyright infringement.
But it's not copyright infringement for a couple of reasons. One, imitation is what social media was built on, but this is going to court, and this is going to be decided that is going to set a huge precedent. Because if you can't just steal what works and you have to make your own content, that is good. God, are you done with sequels? I'm done. I don't need the intellectual property from 40 years ago when I was a kid to keep being rehashed. Think of something new. And I think the world is thriving and striving, and just all they want is new, unique, original content. Is organic storytelling about real life instances. Nobody needs the prim and proper polish, all that stuff. Talk to me.
I think that's why I like sports, because you don't know what the outcome is every time versus, seeing the same episode of some show.
But that's why people like Trump. There's nothing proper about him. Every time you look, you're like, well, you know what? At the very least, he's saying what's coming to the top of his head, because that comment was so insane that there's no way he thought about it. Like, people they want it so bad. And I think that can fit really well into a brand story. But I think you also have to be realistic with how you're getting that message out. And you need real partners. It is very hard to tell a brand story via an internet ad. Who are your storytelling partners? How are you getting that out? How are you engaging with people that watch it? And what is the next step? If I was making a resolution, I would focus so much more effort on my brand and who I am, and let the rest of the stuff follow. And understand, it is very easy to run a cost per click ad and get leads. It is very hard to build a brand with the sustainability that people want that will last long term.
Yeah. No, and I think it goes back. It's you've got to make sure you're tying it into, because I do think, and even this little dialogue, you've got different people. I don't look at anything ad based on the internet, right? I may do a little bit on TV.
Sure.
Basically while I'm watching live TV and things of that nature. But you got people that are the opposite. And now these days you got to be, consistent across your multiple channels.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, look, without bringing too much psychology into this is the problem. Once we found the way to flood a dopamine receptor, we have just doubled and tripled down on this. Okay. So the very quick version, all dopamine is the thing that makes you anticipate and want something that you need, right? So when you're in the woods back in the day and you smelled something that you knew was food, you start getting your palate wet, and you're just, because that's dopamine flooding you, because the body knows you have to go get that. So we have made social media, really gambling was the first one to do it. But the problem is there is no serotonin. Serotonin is what calms you down after, like, oh, that was so awesome. There is no serotonin. So we have just built systems that want you to buy and purchase more. If you look right now, and we'll run a Black Friday like shopping episode, and probably we're going to end up before this. But if you look, this is all Amazon's Black Friday is. All they did was found everything you wanted from the year, jacked the price up through their algorithms, and then acted like it was down 40% down. And in our brains, like 40%. Oh my God, I need this now. And we buy crap that we don't need because they're flooding the dopamine. So I think,
it goes back to the days of it's got to do what the trendy people are doing.
But you're right, but trendy people had nothing to do with dopamine rushes. It was just psychological. You want to be cool, but
you felt good.
You felt now. What we need, and I don't want this, I am a pure capitalist. We need people to revolt against this garbage and stop just buying stuff for no reason, right? Like we have dishwashers. Yeah, they're $300, but they break in 2 years. So the $800 dishwasher that's for 20 years was a better buy.
Yeah.
We just need to be better with what we consume, with what we're putting out there, with who we buy from, because you just see it. I think you're getting to a culmination point where rebellion against the corporate greed, all these factors are going to play in, that we just need to be better consumers and smarter consumers. And it doesn't fit the capitalist bill of this country, but I think everything we've talked about, customer service, sustainability, all those things have something to do with what we're talking about.
Oh, absolutely. The learning mindset, you name it. So all right. So those are kind of, maybe resolutions or areas we think people need to really focus on. What about predictions this year? What's number one on your list?
All right. So I think this is a spillover of just the turmoil in the world, but I think there's going to be a bigger focus on privacy. I think that people feel the infringement upon their personal life is too high and they're going to be more protective. So I think consumers are going to have to be, companies are going to have to be more worried about privacy, right? Like every time there is a leak, now these customers are paying out money. Like when you get your identity stolen, there's bad actors that are involved in this. It's because they're cutting corners. Yeah. So I think there will be a renewed focus on privacy. Google's not going to do it because now there's bigger, AI is an even bigger threat. So they're not getting rid of cookies anytime soon. That's their moneymaker. But what happens when we figure out that all AI is doing is stealing your likeness and all your stuff and putting it out there for the world to see? How does that fit into this? I think you will see a focus on privacy. I don't think it will be action yet, because God knows action takes years, but I think the conversation will be about privacy in 25.
Okay, interesting. So I think from what I'm seeing, I'm already seeing it, but and maybe it goes back to some of the comments we have, but is this idea of interactive content, these little daily quizzes, these little games that pop up, I think, and people branding them. I mean, I think that's part of it. It's not just that, that it's out there, but it's people are taking a brand and saying, maybe people need a little bit of break and need to associate us with that break, maybe that mind download or something of that nature. So.
Yeah, look, I think you're right. But it also requires a little bit more personalization, right? You can't just send the quiz out to everybody. What is the quiz about? Is it about something you like, you enjoy, right? I think the days of giving a voice to everybody have to end, okay? Right? Just because you've eaten shrimp scampi once doesn't make you a food expert that gets to tour the world and review bash these people. Like, we had experts, and I know that journalism has been cut. I know that the concept of an expert has now gone to YouTube versus being people who are paid by magazines and television, but every jabroni on earth thinks that their opinion is worth something. Like, and the system wants that. Like, I get an alert every single time at a restaurant. It's like, you're one of the best, coolest reviewers on Google. Leave a review. I'm like, no, why would I leave you a review? Pay me if you want a review. If you want something, my time is not worth this at all. Yeah. So I think that, with that, I think we just have to get to a point where we do a better job, and privacy comes into it because you can't personalize if you don't have data on people. But I think it's the same thing. Brands just have to spend a little bit more time getting to know the consumers, getting to speak to the consumers. And look, the best brands will never have a problem. Apple knows how to speak to consumers better than everybody. There's no demise of Apple coming. Right?
They've invested in it for years, and they continue to invest, and they don't cut, and it's not 1 year in, 1 year out, but and
because we're not in the economy of free money anymore, that it's not about these brand new products. It's about honing the product you have. You can't have the same R&D budgets when interest rates are at 8% that you did when it was 0. So now it's honing and crafting and getting it right. Now you'll get back to a point where it's innovation. But in these time periods, I usually see that take more time to know who your consumer is, but realize it takes time to do so.
Yeah, here's one, and look, I don't honestly spend a lot of time on some of the various reels out there, but the ones I do enjoy are the ones typically around like either college football or the NFL, and there's 2 or 3 have been really good, and now there's 5, there's 6. I'm guessing there's going to be another 8, 9, 10 comedians or whatever start to do those.
Yeah.
My personal opinion is, that's going to probably kill it a little bit. Is too many late players to the market, everyone trying to do the same thing. Back to your sequel type of story, but I don't know what you see with that. And to me, it's kind of will be the point of, I'll start turning all that off because I don't want to be overrun with C-level content.
Yeah, look, selfishly, I enjoy that, but it's always too long-winded. Yeah. So, like, if you can get that down to 2 minutes that have virality to it and it could spread to help the game of football, love it, right? Yeah. Like, say what you will about Taylor Swift, but just the image of her there is all you needed. You didn't need a 25-minute video of her dancing. Yeah. You just need a shot of her there. And people are like, oh, cool, Taylor Swift's there. Like, look, my attention span's shorter. Everybody's is. Yep. I'm not saying it doesn't need to be, but I'm saying, like, if you're going to do that, make it multi-purpose, right? If it was good comedy and it could last on its own and now it's helping 3 new people watch football, then it's worth the time. Right. Just to be there, to be crowd service, fan service for the people who are watching, because you get a nice sneak an extra hour out of this stuff. Yeah. When was the last time you watched an NFL pregame show? Good. It's atrocious. Yeah, it's atrocious.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
It's atrocious to sit. They go 3 hours of coverage, all these image pieces, all this stuff. I get why they do it. Don't get me wrong. But how big of a loser do you have to be able to commit 12 hours of your day and then watch on Thursday and then Monday? It's insane. That's not what we want out of our people. We want people who know how to work and be of value to society.
The last time I really sat down and watched an entire game was the conference championships, the SEC game and the ACC game. I mean, I was like, I have not really sat and watched a football game,
let alone the freaking pregame show.
Well, I didn't watch the pregames, but
I'm just saying. Like, one of the things, look, I'm not going to show my favoritism to radio, but like people listen to the radio when they're driving and doing other stuff. It accompanies you. Yeah. Actively engaging and watching 4 hours of NFL pregame is insane. Yeah. It is insane. They're going to play. Why do you want to hear about something? The pregame is longer than the game. So, look, we've killed that all this to say, understand who your consumer is better, and it's what TV stations did the worst job. They had no idea who they were putting out as a consumer, so they made crap for everybody, and now every one of them is failing.
Yeah, but the reality is, as long as they're selling their ad space, that's all they're worried about.
All right, well, because we're in that conversation, what do you think about Interpublic and Omnicom merging? Because that's going to change the entire industry, and I have my opinions. But when we talk about ad space and pre and upfronts and all that stuff, what do you think there?
First off, I think it's probably going to water down the creative talent. First off,
okay. I didn't know that there was any left. To be honest with you, that's why we're doing the same stuff.
That's a valid point, but I think it will water down. I mean, I think you'll see. I think you'll see the good people jump, right? And they'll try to start their own. Yeah. So I think that's number one. I think there will probably be a push on the contractual side to start negotiating differently because they're going to have a bigger piece of the pie. So I don't know. I think from the consumers, I don't know necessarily that it's good. But that's my initial reaction to it. I'm like, it's almost kind of a yawn.
Yeah, look, it's now the biggest ad agency in the world, right? Now you're competing with Publicis in France and Dentsu in Japan, and I get why we're doing these things, but all it does is take the experience and the brand marketing, throw it out the window, right? Yeah. CMOs are gone. These companies are merging. Like, you have to be such a good marketer nowadays and have such a good intellect for this, and I don't think we're breeding the people that have that. I think you're throwing people into the fire that are not equipped to handle it, which, again, it always ebbs to the middle and comes, but I think we're in a very bad space for marketing now, and I think that the next recession call, the next crash, will wipe out 20 to 30% of the industry as a whole. And the only thing I hope is that because marketing is so influential for everything else, that people land on their feet, because I think a bloodbath is coming.
Yeah, I think, hopefully the opportunity is for the smaller firms, smaller agencies, for companies that their revenue is, let's just say, below $250 million. All right. You guys ought to be dealing with that. Don't be dealing with any of the big guys. And I think really that's maybe the case.
They got the best pitch, though. They got the best pitch. And they're speaking a language of the future that nobody else understands. The problem is they're speaking a language that they don't understand, and it's all flash and substance. So I think, look, this was cool. We had a great conversation, but we got lots of experts that have a lot of their own opinions. So we're going to let this one fizzle out, and we're going to let our experts come in. We got predictions from a bunch of old guests. We're going to end this episode with that because I think it's much more important to hear from the rest of the world, not just two jabronis that get to jump in here and talk. But for everyone else, have a wonderful start to this year, a great new year. We wish you the best. We're going to keep churning out episodes. We got a lot in the hopper. It's going to be a great 2025.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. And we're on to, it's amazing. It started, 2021, and here we are in 2025.
176-ish.
Yeah.
That's insane. 176 episodes.
So the last prediction is that we will cross episode 200 this year.
We'll get to 200.
Right, so that might be the end of it. That one might be the only one we get right.
We'll leave it at that.
All right, thanks. And you've been listening to the Marketing MadMen on Extra 106.3, and we'll be back next week.
Hi, Nick. I hope you've had a fantastic year and are looking forward to 2025. I want to join you on being a Marketing MadMen evangelist. And what I see happening in 2025 is an even greater push to hyper-personalization. This is something that's been talked about for a little bit, but now with all the tech tools out there, AI, we can really do it. How can we create that highly personalized experience for each prospect, client, and even employee so that they feel more comfortable with a higher degree of trust to buy something earlier and feel like that they've had a great experience and keep staying sticky to you. So that's really the first thing. And we see that happening from the DNA behavior perspective by deploying our AI digital scan process so that no person has to complete anything, and we can now get very deep behavioral insights on them to create this really warm experience, make them feel psychologically safe through the sales process as well. I think that's something that's sometimes missing from sales is psychological safety. But how can we bring that to the table by understanding people better? And we've never had access to deeper personality insights because it's always required a profile to be completed, which is a friction. With an AI digital scan, no friction. The second thing building on that we see happening is that people have a big problem in building their relationship networks. Yep, we have Facebook, LinkedIn, varying other tools, CRM systems like HubSpot and Salesforce. You have to go and look up people. You have to trace through who's connected to who. It's actually quite hard work and quite clunky. How can you have your relationship network at your fingertips? Let's say that I want to know somebody to invite to a podcast about a certain topic. Can I plug in the prompt and get a list of people that I can potentially invite in a snap of my finger? And that is, I think, something that's going to be there for in the future. And hopefully people will then learn how to maybe tap into those colder first degree leads, and certainly then into the second degree connections that we all have thousands of. So I think that's something also that is going to come to the fore, and we're building a platform to help with that. So hopefully that helps us all become hard charging marketing men in 2025.
Hi. This is Dinesh Shah. I'm a professor of marketing at Georgia State University. And here are my 3 New Year resolutions for 2025. Number 1, I want to do more by doing less. Why is that? Well, the world is full of distraction, and at least in 2025, I hope I can focus better and do things that really, really matter. Oh, it rhymes. Okay, number 2 on the list is I want to really learn the latest tools and techniques related to AI and generative AI. And the reason is that AI is completely redefining our lives and our world as we speak today. So either you get left behind or you make sure you keep up with it. And even though I'm a professor and I teach, even we need to learn, and I want to make sure that I am fully well versed with what AI has in store for us and what's the latest tools and techniques that are out there. And last but not the least, my number 3 resolution is I want to I want to surround myself with high energy, positive people. And why is that? Because positivity and high energy is very contagious.
Hello, everyone. This is Cesar Wurm, Vice President of Commercial at IHG Hotels and Resorts. And I had the pleasure of being a guest earlier in the year and thinking about 2025. Really, the hospitality industry, we're really in a strong position. Demand is looking solid across both leisure and business travel, and forecasts from associations and researchers within our industry really showing healthy occupancy levels, in level with pre-pandemic and many markets. And certainly is an exciting time for us to make the most of these opportunities and ensure that we're driving improvements and capturing the demand. So I have 6 key takeaways here from you. Number 1 is the strong demand outlook. So the foundation is there. Travel demand continues to grow, and it's really up to us to strategically capture it. So whether it's through targeted marketing, better guest engagements, or really smarter strategies and revenue management. Number 2, our industry really continues to embrace AI to drive personalization. AI, as we know, it's becoming a game changer in many industries, and this includes hospitality. So it's really helping us to automate routine tasks and freeing up our teams to really focus on those human connections and where we can make a difference from a strategic perspective. So it's not about replacing people, it's really about enhancing experiences and driving better strategies. Number 3, prioritizing sustainability. Sustainability is just not the right thing to do, but also is a must as we continue to drive efficiencies, figuring out how to be better partners for our owners, our guests, and also for the planet. And there is a way to be eco-friendly, do eco-friendly options, and embrace sustainability practices while staying ahead of the curve by taking care of the guests and also doing this in a financially ethical way for our owners. Number 4 is leveraging data-driven insights. So we have a lot of data at our fingertips, so we gotta use it. And data can really help us really understanding our guests, their behaviors, optimizing pricing, creating marketing strategies and campaigns that really hit the mark. It's all about using those insights to deliver better experiences and results. Number 5, enhancing direct booking channels. In our industry, having direct booking channel success is really crucial because really shows it speaks to the loyalty, it speaks to higher profitability, and it's really about creating the personal experience and connections with our guests. So we got to make sure that we're adding value to those direct interactions in order to earn their trust and make a big difference. And finally, investing in next generation technology. Not only AI is helping to go further, but also how do we embrace and bring in all the systems together to really take advantage of machine learning, AI, and of course, natural technology evolution. So really by focusing on these trends and learning the demand momentum we're seeing, we can stay relevant, competitive, and ensure we're delivering amazing experiences to our guests in 2025. We're very excited to what's ahead, and let's make this a great year. Thank you.